Well, hello there, and welcome to another edition of 7 Minute Study. And so this morning what I want to do is that I want to read one verse from the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28 for Christians. This will be familiar. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. For we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Or as the King James Version puts it, all things will work together for good. You have to excuse me. All right. All things will work together for good, for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. Now, some people think that verse means that everything in our life is going to be good, and that everything is going to be smooth, and that God is going to take care of everything for us and make sure that there are no hiccups or bumps along the way. That's not what this verse is saying. I'm sure that for those of you who have spent any time on this earth have realized by now that when it comes to life is not always easy. I'm almost 30, and I can certainly attest and testify to the fact that sometimes life can stink. Sometimes there are certain circumstances and situations in our life that is beyond our control. Sometimes there are things going on in our lives that cannot be fixed. Sometimes there's something in our life that is just absolutely drizzling with negativity, just absolutely draining on us, and there is no good thing to be found in it. Does that mean that the Bible is false? No. All things work together for good. But not all things are good. Not everything in our lives is going to be good. Not everything in our lives is going to be pleasant. And people who would teach that if you are a true follower of Christ, you will never have a hard time, they're false teachers. Jesus even said so himself, that we would have trials and tribulations and persecutions in this life. All things are not good in our lives, and that has to be acknowledged. However, what this verse is saying is that all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose. You see, God has a purpose for all of our lives. God has a plan for all of our lives. Now, this will of God, it can be a great mystery, but it's actually quite simple. For you and I, we have the same purpose, and that is to glorify God in our life. That is the purpose of every person on earth, to have a relationship with God, and through the living of their life, live it in such a way that God is glorified. That is the purpose of every single person on this planet. Same purpose. However, where things get interesting is how God exalts himself in our life. You see, we don't become mindless automatons. We don't become robots. But what happens is that God will look at an individual, and he will see the talents that they have, and he will exalt himself through their talents. So for some people, God will exalt himself in their life by them becoming a doctor, and by them using their skills in medicine to help others. For other people, it will be as a missionary or a preacher. Some other people will be exalted will exalt God in their life by the good that they do and by the talents that they have. And what happens is that is the purpose, that we all exalt God through our talents, and we all have different talents, and we all exalt God in different ways. That's the purpose. And for those who love God, for those who are committed to Christ, God will work all things out for good. The definition of good might be different than what we expect or think. A definition of good for us would be that if life is good, The definition in modern society of life being good is that you have millions of dollars in the bank account, you have a big house, you have the newest car, you have the brand new toys and gadgets, you have a pool, and then you also have everything at your fingertips. That is society's definition of good. But that's not what God does. Not necessarily. God can financially bless, but He's not bound to it. God will work all things out for good. What will happen is that in the trials that we face in our life, in the situations that bog us down, God can take the ugliness in our life and He can turn it around so that something beautiful comes out at the end. Right now, I'm going through a bit of a trial myself. Have been for a long time. Waiting on God and trying to find out the exact answer to how is it that my life specifically, and now that I'm married, how my life with my wife specifically is going to be exalting God. And then also there's the distance between my wife and I right now. She's in Florida, I'm in Newfoundland. There's the distance between us. That's also a trial. And simple fact that right now I'm living at home still and I'm almost 30 years old. And it's not good. You know, I mean, thank God for my parents, but I don't like being here. I would much rather be on my own with my wife and us setting up a life together. I don't like being unemployed and being at home. I don't like it. It's a trial. It's not good. However, I do believe that if I keep seeking God, and that if I wait and if I am patient and I allow Him to work through me and I allow Him to work on me, that in the end, this is going to be turned around into something good. That good is going to come out of this, whether a person's life gets touched, whether Maria and I are made stronger, whether we are made more in the image of Christ through this trial, good is going to come out of it. I don't know what that good is. I don't know what form it's going to take. I don't know when everything is going to play out. I have no clue. But something that I do have is that hope and that foundation that those who love God and are called according to His purpose will see God work out all things for good. Not everything will be good, but things will be worked out. There's no time limit. There's no time constraint. It's just a matter of being patient. And that brings me to another verse from Psalm 34. Don't fret, it only leads to evil. And I'll talk about that another time. But for right now, this has been 7 Minute Study. And remember, things in your life may not be good right now. But entrust it to God. Give it to God. Give your whole life to God. And He will work something out that in the end, you will see as beautiful. He will take what is marred. He will take what is disfigured. He will take what is deformed. He will take what is warped and ugly and scarred and bruised. And by the work of the Holy Spirit, He will turn it around into a work of art that is absolutely dazzling and beautiful and radiant to behold. So until next time, this is 7 Minute Study saying, may God's blessings be upon you. Peace.